And a big thing changed over the weekend. No more Sam Bradford. Carson Wentz, now the starting quarterback, as Sam Bradford was shipped. And the Eagles got a first-round pick back for Sam Bradford. I'm still stunned. I can't believe it. And now joining us on the hotline is Glen Macnow from Sports Radio 94 WIP. Glenn, appreciate a few minutes, and how are you?
My pleasure, man. I'm doing just great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. So where were you over the weekend, and what was your immediate reaction when you heard the news that the Eagles traded Sam Bradford and now Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback?
I was at a wedding in Boston, Massachusetts when I got the news. My phone exploded, much to the chagrin of my wife and other people at the wedding. And my reaction was, I can't believe they got a first. This is tremendous. But, you know, you had a team. It was the perfect situation because, unfortunately for Teddy Bridgewater, you had a team that lost its starting quarterback a week before the season that considered itself a contender, and they were desperate to make a move, and the Eagles benefited.
And I'll tell you this, I had no confidence in Howie Roseman when they elected to bring him back and put him in that position when Chip Kelly was fired and now is the head coach of San Francisco. But with Howie Roseman, some of the deals that he's made this offseason, the trade with Miami, getting Carson Wentz, and now this trade, I don't know how you don't have confidence in him, Glenn. I have so much confidence now in Howie Roseman because of the way that he's worked these trades out in the offseason.
Yeah, well, what he's really done is he entirely undid the Chip Kelly era. I mean, he got rid of the high-priced free agents that Chip signed. Even today, he was getting rid of draft picks that Chip had made, and he was just undoing all of the damage that Chip had caused in the end. And I don't know that it's going to make the Eagles competitive this year, but I think it does all help for the long run.
Hey, it's all about building for the future, and you have to have patience, and I know patience is very slim in Philadelphia, but that's what happens when you bring in a quarterback that was playing in the FCS and now is the second overall pick in Carson Wentz, and we'll see him this Sunday versus the Cleveland Browns at the Link. My question to you is, are they putting him in too early? Should they have waited maybe after the bye?
Well, I would have liked to have seen him play a little more in the preseason. So he's coming in off of an injury where nobody has seen him play other than that one half in the first game. That is a little bit daunting. Yeah, there's a part of me that actually would like to see him wait those 3 games. But you know what? If you're the coach and you're the offense coordinator, Frank Reich, you're the quarterback coach, you see him every day, you know what he's got, you know when he's ready. I don't know if Doug Peterson is going to be a great NFL coach, but I do have faith that he is not going to rush this kid, that he would not use him if Wentz wasn't prepared to play. So I'll put my faith in the administration on that for now.
How tough do you think that will be for him to transition from FCS to the NFL? We've seen it done before. It's a very rare situation, but how tough do you think that will be for him to have success transitioning from what is totally different in the FCS now to the National Football League?
Real tough. And you're right. We've seen, what do you want to call it, Division II small college quarterbacks make it. Joe Flacco had a really good rookie year.
Rich Gannon.
Ben Roethlisberger went to Miami of Ohio. Who did you say?
Rich Gannon.
Rich Gannon. Well, it was Rich Gannon. It seemed to me Rich Gannon took a couple years to make it. But regardless, we've seen it. But usually those are guys, like when Flacco did it when he came out of Delaware, he went to a team that had a Super Bowl caliber defense. The Eagles defense is going to be a lot better this year, but it ain't that. He's going to have growing pains, and it could be a long year, and the Eagles could be a bad team this year, but I have no problem throwing a kid in, and if he is talented, he's got the physical skills, he'll learn it as he goes along.
And I'll say this as well. He was hunting geese when he heard the news that Sam Bradford was getting traded and now he's the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. That doesn't seem like someone that is the quarterback of the Eagles, but if he starts to win, everyone will embrace that. But you know it, for a kid that age, handling the pressure of Philadelphia is going to be no easy task because they love you now, but the first interception or two, and that's the growing pains of an NFL season, you know the fans are definitely going to magnify every single move that he does make.
That's okay. He's tough. He'll handle it. And listen, I'll disagree with something you said earlier when you said Philadelphia fans aren't patient. Philadelphia fans are amazingly patient. They've been selling out games for a team that has never won a Super Bowl, for a team that hasn't won a championship in 56 years. So in that sense, they're really patient. They may scream at their team. They may get angry, but they are always there, and they will be. And I think that I think it's a misnomer. I think this is actually a fine fan base for him to come in with. Hell, they were patient for the last, decade with Sam Hinkie's Sixers? They'll be able to hang in for a year or two with this.
Glen Macnow joins us from Sports Radio 94 WIP. So with this offensive line, and Lane Johnson, that's the unknown. The league hasn't commented on that officially. When Lane Johnson, because I believe everyone thinks that he's going to be missing 10 games at the season at some point, how good can this offensive line be without Lane Johnson? How big of a drop-off is it when Lane isn't at right tackle for the Eagles?
Well, it is a drop-off. It's a drop-off because he's a pretty good right tackle. I don't think he's great. I'm still waiting for him to be Pro Bowl caliber, but he's good. He's solid. And then you're moving one of your guards out to tackle where you weaken that position as well. So you automatically weaken two positions. I'm a little worried about Jason Peters this year. He's 34 years old. We can say that a lot of his decline was because of Chip Kelly last year in that fast-paced offense, but he's still 34 and there's a lot of wear on the tires. And Jason Kelsey's coming off not a very good year at center. So I do have real concerns about the offensive line. I know they brought in Brandon Brooks. That's good. They picked up a couple of kids in the draft. We'll see. But that will not be a strength this year. And what Wentz is going to have to learn, consequently, is how and when to get rid of the ball. He didn't have that in the game of the preseason where he got hurt. That's going to be the first thing he has to learn.
And we all know it starts with the big boys up front, but you need playmakers to win in this league. And you hope Carson Wentz is the real deal at quarterback. For this team, though, this year, I don't see a whole lot of talent at the running back position and also the wide receivers. How do you evaluate those two units for the Philadelphia Eagles for this year?
Well, I really like Ryan Matthews. The problem is he can never stay healthy. The last year he was healthy, he rushed for 1,200 yards. He's a very good running back. Unfortunately, he doesn't last. If he can, get through 12, 14 games, give you 1,000 yards, that helps you a ton. Jordan Matthews is a nice receiver, but he's not a game breaker. I think Dorial Green-Beckham gives him a nice red zone target, and that'll be helpful. But I'm not gonna try to blow smoke here. The Eagles' skill position players are probably bottom 5 in the league, and that's what it's going to be this year. They're going to just have to get by on a good defense, not turn the ball over, and try to win some low-scoring games.
Wrap it up with Glen Macnow, and that's exactly the way the Eagles are going to win games this year. The offense is going to have to limit the turnovers, and the defense is going to have to create a whole lot of turnovers. And I know you don't need a PhD in football to figure that one out, but that was kind of the same situation that you had with Sam Bradford. You needed him to not make too many turnovers this year, and then maybe you thought the Eagles, I thought they were going to go 6-10, 7-9 regardless, but you had some people having the hopes of 8-8 or 9-7 and maybe 9-7 could win you the NFC East. But I'm just wondering, what was your prediction win total before the Bradford trade, and what is it now after, since Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback now?
It was 7 before the trade, and it's 6 now. I ultimately think it's not going to cost them more than one game. It's a bad division. I think Washington's probably the best team, but I don't think they win double digits. I'll give them 9 wins in the division. So you're going to be able to win some of those games against Dallas, the Giants. I think 6 wins is a fair number.
And do the Eagles win this week against the Cleveland Browns?
1-0, baby.
There
Start
we go.
The bandwagon.
You're the leader of the Wentz wagon, Glenn.
Well, let me put it this way. If they don't win this game against Cleveland this week, then you're going to hear those fans screaming and shouting because Cleveland may be the worst team in the league. You're playing them here. I know people like their new coach, Hugh Jackson. It's going to be interesting with RG3 at the quarterback, but it's still the Cleveland Browns, and you still better win it at home.
I right now I would say that I am leaning towards that they're going to win because being at home also plays a big factor. But I'm still stunned that the Browns, who have been looking for a quarterback forever, in my entire lifetime they've been looking for a quarterback, I'm still stunned, even if you don't think Carson Wentz is going to be the greatest player in the world. I don't know how you pass up on a quarterback when you had the number 2 pick before they traded it, Glenn.
Yeah, they said they didn't think he was going to be top 20, which is interesting to me. Hey, they're the Cleveland Browns. I don't worry about their assessment too much. The one thing the Browns did is they got a good return for the pick. Remember, they got the future pick also. And they've got a couple of other picks. If they, again, I don't know, we don't have to talk too much about the Browns, but if the Browns don't screw it up, they've got a whole lot of premium picks coming up in the next 2 years. That could help them. But right now, they're still a bad team. Eagles should be 1-0.
But before we let you run, let's talk about one more player that the Eagles are saying goodbye to, and that's Eric Rowe that you mentioned a little bit earlier on in this conversation. Why didn't things work out for Eric Rowe? Because the corners and the secondary of this team isn't the strength of this football team. Why didn't he earn a roster spot this year, and why won't he be playing on Sunday for the Eagles?
Yeah, it sure isn't. The corners certainly are not. There are a lot of people, and I'm among them, who think Rowe may be more qualified to be a safety than a corner. He just doesn't turn well enough to be a corner, is kind of the prevailing wisdom on him. I know that he did not hit it off well, and he did not impress Jim Schwartz, the new defensive coordinator. That just was a bad match from the start and never really got better. I have this feeling that Eric Rowe goes to New England, where Bill Belichick knows how to make players into great players. I mean, Patrick Chung left here and has done well in New England. I think Eric may go there and turn out to be a pretty good NFL player.
Well, Glenn, we appreciate the time today, giving us a few minutes. Let's do this again real soon. It was a whole lot of fun.
Zach, it's my pleasure. You have a great day.
Thanks so much. You too. There's Glen Macnow from Sports Radio 94 WIP joining us on the Zach Gelb Show. That's also something that is interesting with Eric Rowe. Yes, you could play some safety and some corner. They were vacillating with that. But you would think that with a team that, besides McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins, the entire secondary is not a strength of this team. The safety's good. Leotis McKelvin, okay. Nolan Carroll, okay. But this is a young player. He was drafted last year. Why isn't he still on the football team today? You get a fourth back. I believe you spent a 2 to get Eric Rowe. And you bring in Josh Klein, and we'll see where Josh Klein ends up. Because it doesn't seem like it's in the Eagles' plan of keeping him around. So, with that being said, though, this is another player in Eric Rowe. Who was he? He was a Chip Kelly guy. And Howie Roseman, any negative that happened with Chip Kelly, or anything that happened with Chip Kelly, they are taking the paper and putting it in the file shredder. That's what they're doing right now. And that's what they did in the offseason. What was Chip not able to do? Trade up and get a quarterback. Chip, and he can deny it all he wants. He wanted Marcus Mariota last year. He did everything that he could in his power to get Marcus Mariota. Ultimately, the price was just too high. So, what did Howie do in the offseason? Gave up a lot on the surface to get Carson Wentz. Now, who also did the Eagles bring in? Sam Bradford. When you bring in Carson Wentz, you eliminated this long-term plan of Sam Bradford. Well, now, after hearing the entire offseason that Sam's the man, Sam's the quarterback, and all that garbage, you traded Sam Bradford for a number one. Yeah. It's Tuesday, and I still can't believe it. How about Byron Maxwell, who got the big-time contract? Oh, yeah, goodbye. Kiko Alonso, goodbye. Any existence of the Chip Kelly era has either faded away in Philadelphia or is gone. And this is because it was a contentious relationship between Chip and Howie. Think about that. Howie was disrespected last year. Have any notion or any perception you want about Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman was kicked out of his office and moved to another side of the NovaCare complex. That's how bad it was with that relationship. When they got rid of Gamble, Chip said, sayonara, Howie. This is my show. It's either going to sink with me in the driver's seat or we're going to have a lot of success. And it sunk. And that's because Chip Kelly was arrogant. Chip Kelly did not adapt. And he was a very stubborn man. Now Howie is driving this bus. And so far, if I'm an Eagles fan and if I'm on the road and I see this bus, I'm putting up my hand, dropping the 50 cents. I haven't taken a bus in a long time, whatever it is, to get on a bus. And I'm joining the Howie Roseman bus. It's not going to be great this year. You're not going to have a luxurious bus this year. It's not going to be a fun bus ride. But no. Howie Roseman expedited the process. We don't need to see Sam Bradford be injured in garbage this year now. We get to see the future in the Wentz wagon. Carson Wentz. He is leading the Eagles on the field now at the quarterback spot. Now, there are some concerns. I would have waited 4 or 5 weeks. This offensive line, not good. Wide receivers, they get Dorial Green-Beckham, and everyone says he's the second coming. That's how bad these wide receivers have been. Nelson Aguilar, bust. Running backs, yeah, sure. Like Glenn said, Ryan Matthews, nice player. But he can't stay healthy. If you can't stay healthy, guess what? You're irrelevant to me. You're putting in a rookie quarterback now with not a lot of pieces around him. But I'm fine with it. Because you're going to need to teach him how to slide. You're going to need to teach him how to protect himself, when to throw the ball away. And I believe having him on the field this year, even though the team is not that good offensively, does help the long-term plan. Because if you're an Eagles fan, and as Glenn would say, patiently waiting for an Eagles Super Bowl, that's what you want, a Super Bowl. And guess what? If you don't have a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, you're not winning that Super Bowl. There's a few instances. There's a minuscule amount of instances where a non-franchise quarterback has won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer, sure. But you look at this past decade, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, all-time great quarterbacks, franchise-altering quarterbacks. And you hope, if you're the Eagles, Carson Wentz is that franchise-altering quarterback that delivers this city a parade on Broad and Patterson. That's what you hope. And now you get to see the first year in 2016 of Carson Wentz. And it gets started against the stinking Cleveland Browns. Imagine if they lose to the Browns. Hell will freeze over the great city of Philadelphia if they lose to the Cleveland Browns. You can't lose to the lousy Browns. It would be miserable if you lost to the Browns. But now the risk of Carson Wentz. And we've all said it. If Carson Wentz does not turn out to be the real deal, say goodbye to this franchise for the next 5-7 years. That's what we said. But getting a first and a fourth, and that fourth could turn into a 3 or 2 depending on the success of the Minnesota Vikings this year, changes the entire thing. Because when you break down this trade and you evaluate it, this trade is now completely different than what it was on the surface a few months ago when Howie pulled the trigger and said, okay, we're making this deal. The Browns originally got a 1 last year, a 1 this upcoming year, a 3, and a 4. None of that changes. The Eagles got a 1, which turned out to be Wentz, and a 4th this upcoming year. That's a lot to give up for that pick, but that's what's required to get that pick. But now it changes when over the weekend you trade Sam Bradford, who was out of your plans after this year anyways. You get a 1 and a 4. So let's say if the Vikings don't make the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, and that stays a 4. So when you do the math and cross out the picks, you basically gave up 2 third-rounders and Sam stinking Bradford, who steals money. Sammy steals the big bucks for Carson Wentz and a 4th-round pick. Howie, wonderful, outstanding. It doesn't get better than that if you're an Eagles fan. Oh, well, I guess it could if you win a Super Bowl next year or in 2 years, 3 years, whatever. You make that deal 10 times out of 10. And if you don't think Howie should have made this deal over the weekend, well, you're a dope. You're a moron. You're an idiot. Because what was this year going to be? What false hope did you think this year was going to be? Yes, the NFC East, they stink. We know that. But What were the Eagles going to be with Sam Bradford, who you don't know could play a full 16? The Eagles would have been 6-10, 7-9. Now you get to see the future. You get to see the Wentz wagon. I love it. EAGLES Eagles right now. Because now we get to track the young quarterback in Carson Wentz, where last week we weren't even going to get to see him at all play this year, unless if Sam Bradford got hurt and then the fans started bitching and you ended up seeing Daniel for a few games and then the fans have ultimately got their way. Now it changes. Now the Wentz wagon starts in Philadelphia Sunday. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. And hopefully he plays all 16 games this year and he learns a lot. And next year, you go all in and you get ready with a legit team, with a legit defense, and you get some playmakers back on offense. Howie, I don't know if you'll deliver the Eagles a Super Bowl, but I like you a whole lot after the deals that you made over the weekend and earlier in the offseason. You made some tremendous deals. You fleeced, straight up robbed the Dolphins and straight up robbed the Minnesota Vikings. That's what you did. It was like the movie Draft Day. I want my first rounders back and Putney because I feel like it. He also says, you pancake eating mother, you know what the rest is. I love it, Howie. And that was Howie this weekend when Spielman called him and Howie's about to have a catch with his kids and Howie delivers the line of this, and it was in Monday Morning Quarterback. With all the roster decisions we're having to make and with Doug's family situation, I just told Rick, unless we're talking the 1-17 and another first high pick, it's useless to talk. I like that fiery. That's a football guy. The Eagles have a football guy leading the franchise, and I didn't say that a month ago, 2 months ago, heck, even a week ago. Now the Eagles have a legit football guy in place, and his name is Howie Roseman. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey, 609-919-9200. One more segment to go. I have some audio for you. You'll hear from Carson Wentz. You'll hear from Dougie P, Doug Peterson. You'll also hear from my new intern, and Kevin. A lot to do on the Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. If you still want the Rutgers tickets, I have them for you. 609-919-9200. This is the Zach Gelb Show. I'm fired up. Are you? We'll talk some more sports next.